I'm Joe Budd from San Gervasi. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 11th of June, 2026. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. Georgia was closely watching the Armenian parliamentary elections held on Sunday, the 7th. Everyone across Georgian political spectrum seemed to be happy with the results, though for completely different reasons. Following pro-Western Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's victory over heavily backed pro-Russian coalitions, Georgian opposition leaders celebrated the outcome as a massive democratic win against Kremlin election interference and a major step towards Armenia's European future. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze was the first foreign leader to call and congratulate Pashinyan, saying that under his leadership, relations between Georgia and Armenia have reached an unprecedentedly high level, completely avoiding any mention of Russia or the European Union. On Saturday the 6th, authorities at the Tbilisi airport arrested 22-year-old Canadian tourist Simon Rovensky for entering the country with Adderall, a very commonly prescribed ADHD medication. Customs officials discovered the pills during a border check, rejecting his pharmacy receipt because he lacked a translated doctor's prescription. Because Georgia classifies Adderall as a strict narcotic, prosecutors charged him with large-scale smuggling, leaving him facing up to 20 years in prison in Guldani prison. His family in Vancouver launched a GoFundMe campaign to raise money for his legal defense, hoping to pay an expected court fine of up to $45,000, which his lawyer advises is the only realistic way to secure his release and deportation. Speaking of medication, on Thursday the 4th, parents of children with Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy ended their 45-night protest outside the government administrative building after Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze agreed to establish a permanent working group to purchase life-saving medications, initially focusing on 2 specific drugs out of the 4 requested treatments. Before this change of heart, the health ministry refused to buy expensive treatments, calling them experimental. The families forced the government's hand. Through relentless daily rallies and overwhelming public backing, pro-European demonstrators made up the majority of their active supporters, while Ilia University student movement successfully raised over 2 million lari for children's daily needs and treatments. In other news, on Thursday the 4th, Georgian Young Lawyers Association released a report revealing that Parliament passed 304 laws through fast-track procedures during the last 2 years. Watchdog warned that the ruling party routinely bypasses democratic debates to push through specific legislation designed to consolidate power and crush political opponents. This repressive legislative push heavily spiked after the fraudulent parliamentary elections in 2024. Link to the full report in English is in the show notes. On Wednesday the 3rd, French investigative outlet Intelligence Online revealed that France quietly withdrew 2 intelligence agents from Tbilisi following a major diplomatic standoff. This happened after the state security service arrested ruling party member Giorgi Udzilauri for passing secrets to an officially unnamed European power. According to the article, to avoid open diplomatic war, the Georgian government chose not to officially expel the French agents. Instead, officials threatened to publicly expose their identities unless Paris recalled them immediately. This follows a public statement from top ruling party officials who openly ordered European nations to withdraw their operatives or face exposure. On Sunday the 7th, authorities found Bekar Bekauri, a detective from the Gori Police Department, dead in the village of Ateni. The regional prosecutor's office opened an investigation into his death, but has not yet released any details regarding the circumstances. Bekauri was directly involved in the recent viral video showing police brutally beating 2 citizens in Gori, an incident that led to the arrest and dismissal of 6 of his fellow officers. Even though Bekauri was involved in the beating, authorities did not arrest him or charge him alongside his colleagues. On Tuesday the 9th, Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze announced that Georgia signed a new bilateral agreement with China to deepen political and economic ties. The document upgrades the 2023 strategic partnership agreement that already brought mutual visa-free travel and increased trade. This happened just a day after the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Countering Chinese Control in the Caucasus Act. American lawmakers fast-tracked the bill because they are worried about Tbilisi's shifting foreign policy and its pivot towards U.S. competitors. If the Senate approves it, the top U.S. intelligence and defense officials must investigate and report on the scale of Russian and Chinese espionage and influence inside Georgia within 180 days. On Tuesday the 9th, Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze called a press conference just to publicly praise the ruling party's billionaire founder, Bidzina Ivanishvili. Kobakhidze admitted he arranged the briefing simply because the opposition politicians criticized Ivanishvili during recent television debates. While prime minister is officially the highest political position in the country, Kobakhidze was pretty happy to admit that he is second in command to Bidzina Ivanishvili, whom he called the Grand Master of Politics. While Kobakhidze insisted that the oligarch does not micromanage the government, he openly acknowledged that the team regularly meets with him for policy guidance. Kobakhidze then added that whenever the team debates key national issues, Ivanishvili's opinion somehow always wins. He chalked it up to Ivanishvili's exceptional competence. On Tuesday the 9th, Azerbaijani authorities jailed dissident journalist Afgan Sadigov, who was deported from Georgia by authorities despite the European Court's decision forbidding them from doing so. Bypassed the extradition ban, the Georgian government targeted Sadigov for participating in pro-European demonstrations in Tbilisi, hitting him with administrative charges for blocking the road. They extradited him on April 4th, saying the criminal case against him in Azerbaijan was closed and he would not be prosecuted. Azerbaijan initially handed Sadigov a passport to feign normalcy, but later blocked him from leaving the country. Now authorities say they reopened the same case against him on the charge of extortion, which is of course fabricated. Sadigov is now trapped in an Azerbaijani prison, facing the very same prosecution that the European Court of Human Rights originally tried to protect him from. On Friday the 5th, Hungary's new government under Prime Minister Peter Magyar announced an immediate ban on work visas for citizens of Georgia and Armenia. The decision completely cuts off a pipeline that previously granted up to 1,800 new employment visas to Georgians every year. Magyar's party claimed foreign workers lower local wages. This policy shift highlights a major political change in Budapest. Hungary's previous Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, acted as the only reliable ally for Georgia's ruling party within the European Union. The new administration is now rapidly dismantling those special privileges. On Saturday the 6th, the ruling party MP and Deputy Speaker Tea Tzulukiani caught the public's attention during a TV debate by openly talking about her dislike of Levan Murusidze, a highly controversial judge and leader of the High Council of Justice. Tzulukiani said bluntly that she personally dislikes Murusidze due to his notorious role under the previous regime, specifically referencing the 2006 trial involving the murder of Sandro Ghirvliani. However, she quickly defended the current court system, saying that Murusidze and other judges from the era operate completely independently of today's political figures, which is a much greater good for Georgia than her personal disapproval. Critics, meanwhile, viewed her commentary as a calculated attempt to legitimize a deeply compromised judiciary, universally accused of running an informal court clan which serves the interests of the ruling party. In a new analytical essay in Geopolitics magazine entitled Georgia Disenfranchised, author Sergei Kapanadze reveals how the ruling party has been rigging the political system to stay in power forever. Instead of just stealing votes, the government now bans specific people from politics entirely by blocking civic experts and NGO workers from joining political parties, while simultaneously shutting down overseas polling stations to hide how deeply unpopular it is among the diaspora. Their next big move is to outlaw major opposition parties and lock up their leaders. Kapanadze warns that the West must stop focusing on useless temporary fixes. Instead, international partners should pressure the regime to follow the 4 R's: refuse party bans, repeal authoritarian laws, release political prisoners, and reform the electoral field. Link to the full essay in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us? info@rorschach.com. Nach Hamdis.